Thank you for joining our webinar. This is Angela, Company Secretarial Manager from Premia TNC. Today, we are going to share with you about Hong Kong company formation and maintenance. During our webinar, for any questions, you may drop your message on the chat box at the right-hand side. We will answer the question in Q&A section at the end of today's webinar, or share the relevant information afterward. And you can also click the live chat red button on the top to make an appointment with us for further discussion or consultation. In Hong Kong, there are several types of entities can be registered to start a new business here. Sole proprietorship, this type of business entity is for small-scale one-man type business only, very simple to set up and with lower profit tax rate. However, there is no protection of personal assets and its owner's personal liability is unlimited. Partnership, it is established and co-owned by two or more people who join together to carry on the business with a view of sharing profits. Partnership enable a sharing of responsibility and enable a business to raise capital. However, it doesn't have a separate legal personality, so the partners are jointly and individually liable for the debts and liabilities of the business. Limited company is one where its members have limited liability for the debts of the company. A company can be limited by shares or by guarantee. Company limited by shares is the more common type of companies in Hong Kong. The liabilities of the shareholders is limited to the capital originally invested. It is a separate legal entity and therefore protects the personal assets of shareholder from the business liabilities. There is no nationality requirement and no need to visit Hong Kong for a company set up. The company formation can be done by online submission or paper filing. Under company limited by guarantee, the liability of its members is limited in its article of association to the amount which the members have undertaken to contribute should the company be rolled up. Company limited by guarantee are usually formed for non-profit making purpose. It is unable to authorize the payment of dividend or to distribute profits to its members. It is requiring to arrange annual audit and filing of annual return as well as other reports or returns as requested by other government offices. Public limited company, on the other hand, Hong Kong public limited companies raise funds from the public and are therefore subject to stricter rules and regulations. In Hong Kong, the majority of companies are registered as companies limited by shares, and it is the most common type of entities used for small to medium-sized business or trading companies in Hong Kong. So today, we will introduce to you the key facts and information about setting up this private limited company by shares. For company name, you can design your own name and the company can be incorporated with either an English name, a Chinese name, or both. Basically, a company name is not permitted if it is identical to that of an existing company. There are also restrictions on the use of certain words in relation to government bodies or licensed activities. Every private limited company must have at least one director who is a natural person and is 80 years old. And there is no nationality requirement and no legal maximum for the numbers of directors. In addition, the sole shareholder can be appointed as director of the company as well. A corporate can also be appointed as corporate director of the company, but still, there must have at least one natural person be an individual director. The private company limited by share must have at least one member and maximum 50 members. The shareholder can be an individual or a corporate of any nationality, while it is prohibiting any invitation to public to subscribe for any shares or debentures because of private company. Meanwhile, a director and shareholder can be the same or different person. 100% local or foreign shareholding is allowed. Every private limited company is required to appoint a company secretary. The company secretary must be Hong Kong residents or bodies corporate having their registered address in Hong Kong. If a company has only one director, that person cannot also act as secretary of the company. The company secretary is responsible for the company's compliance with its statutory duties. If you have no experienced staff for handling the company secretarial issue, you may look for the professional service provider. A local Hong Kong address as the registered address of the company must be provided to a Hong Kong Company Registry. This address must be a physical address and must not be a P.O. box address. Generally, the company will open bank account for business operation purpose after the company is incorporated. Here we will share the basic information when apply for the company bank account in Hong Kong. Please note that the standard and requirement may be different and subject to each bank's policy. Basically, the bank will check all of corporate customer on their background about KYC, Know Your Customer, and KYB, Know Your Business. For KYC, they will check with all of directors, shareholders, and authorized signatories regarding their identity documents and latest address proof, as well as the corporate documents such as certificates of incorporation, business registration certificates, etc. Moreover, BAN will require for the business proof to understand KYB. If you have your own existing business, you may provide the latest business proof like invoices or contracts with shipping documents if you are doing trading business. In case the Hong Kong company is your new startup business, you can provide supporting documents explaining your relevant background, experience, and connections in the industry. In general, the whole procedure will take around 1 month, and the exact time frame is subject to each bank's policy. If the bank requests for additional information or documents during the application review, it may take longer time to complete. Here we have shared with you about the summary of Hong Kong Limited Company formation. So now we will move on to the second part of today's webinar. Now we have our Senior Company Secretarial Manager, Irene, to share about Hong Kong company maintenance.
Hello everyone and thank you Angela. This is Irene. As the following, I would like to share the information about general statutory filing requirement with you. In Hong Kong, a majority company are registered as company limited by shares, and a Hong Kong company is required to take care of the reporting and filing requirement for the company every year under the company audience and inland revenue audience. According to company audience, every Hong Kong limited company has to file the annual return regularly every year. The annual return is used to call the form NAR1, and this is a report to notify to CR of updated information and company structure. Whether the company structure has changed or not during the years. This is required to file the annual return with the latest company structure within 42 days from the anniversary date. For any late filing, there will be a government penalty imposed on the company. If the company is dormant and has been delivered the notice with registrar, the company will be exempted to file any return with company registry. For change of company particulars, should be reported in the specified forms according to the relevant provision of company audience. For any change in particulars information of director and company secretary, including address, passport number or name, and etc. The company needs to submit the form named Notice of Change in Particulars of Company Secretary and Director with the CR within 15 days of the change. Moreover, the Notice of Change of Address of Registered Office is required to be delivered for registration within 15 days to report the change in the registered office address. Also, every officer of a company, including its director, company secretary, or manager, has the responsibility to ensure that the company has complied with all the provisions of the company audience. For business registration certificate, business operator may select for issue the certificates that are valid for 1 year or 3 years. Regarding renewal of business registration certificates, the business registration renewal demand note will be sent to the business address of the company before 1 month of the current BR certificate expire. The demand note will display the business address, business name, date of payment, and the valid period. The company should settle the payment with IRD within 13 days from the anniversary date in order to obtain the update certificate. Also, the company should inform IRD of any change of the BR particular, such as change of business address, change of nature of business, commencement of business, and etc. The business registration fee amount may be adjusted by the Hong Kong government in the different financial years, and it should be renewed on time to avoid any penalty. For the tax reporting, the company should get its first PTR within 18 months after the date of incorporation date, and each subsequent PTR filing for the company will be covered 12 months and it will be filing annually. For the corporation, the profit tax rate for the first 2 million Hong Kong dollar of the profit earned is 8.25%, and profit above 2 million Hong Kong dollar earned by a company will be subject to the tax rate of 16.5%. For the first PTR, the company is requested to arrange filing within 3 months from the issuing date. For the subsequent filing will be depends on the year-end date. For example, if the accounting year-end date between 1st of April to 30th November, the filing deadline will be 2nd May of the following year. Accounting year-end date between 1st December to 31st of December, the filing deadline will be 15 August of the following year. If the accounting year end date between 1st January to 31st of March, the filing deadline will be 15 November on the same year. Therefore, the filing date of the PTR for each corporate will be different. At the same time, the PTR should be submitted with supporting documents such as audited report. For the employer return, the company have an obligation to file the employer return to IRD for all its employees annually, no matter the employee retains service in or outside Hong Kong. The employer should report all employees' personal particulars, remuneration paid to the employees in the relevant year of assessment. For the newly set up companies, employer will receive the employer return between 3 to 6 months after filing their first audit financial statement. In general, the employer return will be delivered to the company by IRD on first working days of April every year. And the company should report the return within 1 month from the issuing date. For the employer obligation, the employer has to maintain the payroll record of the employees and keep its record for at least 7 years. Keep the updated employee personal particulars and inform IRD when any change of particulars or the terms of employment. Also, the employer tax obligation commences when you hire the first employee. Regarding the Significant Controller Register, on 1st of March 2018, the company registry has commenced amendment audience and introduced new requirement on the keeping of Significant Controller Register by companies. This is to enhance the transparency of corporate beneficiary ownership in order to fulfill Hong Kong international obligation and request a company incorporate in Hong Kong to obtain and maintain up-to-date beneficiary ownership information by way of keeping a significant controller register. Under the new requirement of SCR, the company incorporate in Hong Kong is required to identify a person who has significant control over the company and to maintain a significant controller register to be accessible by law enforcement officer. Also, the major application of the company including identifying significant controller, allowing impression by law enforcement officer, giving notice to significant controllers and others, updated information and entering particulars in the register. For the SCR, you may have a question: who is a significant controller of a company? A significant controller including a registrable person who is the neutral person, a registrable legal entity which is a shareholder of the company that has significant control over the company. A person has significant control over a company if one or more of the following conditions are met, and generally it will be depends on the person shareholding or whether have the right to exercise or significant influence or control over the company. Here you can see they have the 5 nature of significant controllers. To maintain the proper information on the SCR, the company must keep its SCR in English or Chinese. Also, the information of requested particulars, date of becoming a significant controller, the nature of control over the company of every significant controller over the company. The particular should request of each significant controller's name and the registrable person corresponding address and passport number and issuing country, or the registrable legal entity, legal form, registrable number, place of incorporation, and register office. Update the register if any change of particulars. The name and contact detail of at least one designated representative to provide assistance in relating to the company SCR to the law enforcement officer. Regarding the annual general meeting, AGM, under the company audience, a company must hold an AGM in respect of each financial year of the company instead of the calendar year. For the newly incorporated company, the company should hold the first AGM on 9 months after the first anniversary of the company incorporation, or 3 months after the end of that accounting reference period, whichever is later. For the ongoing company, the company should hold the AGM on 9 months after the end of its accounting reference period. For example, the company financial year ends as 31st of March, the AGM should hold not later than 31st of December. If the company financial year ends as 31st of December, the AGM should hold not later than 30 September on the following year. About the AGM, the company should send a notification of AGM schedule with all members at least 21 clear days. If the notice shorter than 21 clear days, must agree by all the members entitled to attend and vote at the meeting. There are some situations may exempt to hold an AGM on each financial year. Under the company audience, a company is requested to hold an AGM if everything done by written resolution and the document are provided to all members of the company. Also, if the company is a only single member, it is not required to hold an AGM. For the company audience, also allow a company to dispense with the holding of AGM by a written resolution or a resolution at a general meeting passed by all members. This is also exempt a dormant company from the requirement to hold the AGM. That's the end of today's presentation. We hope the information is helpful for you to understand about the Hong Kong company. Now is Q&A section, so let me invite Angel to join us again. Okay, so let us review the pre-question from the customer first. So the first question is it possible to move my overseas company jurisdiction to Hong Kong? Actually, yes. If the overseas company wish to carry out the business activity and establish the place of business in Hong Kong, they must firstly to register the business entity in Hong Kong as a non-Hong Kong company, and then register the business registration number in Hong Kong. So you should apply the registration within 1 month after establish the place of business in Hong Kong. So you may contact us for the more detail.
The second question is, for company incorporation and bank account opening in Hong Kong, do I need to come and visit Hong Kong? Actually, for incorporation part, it is not required for physical visit. The formation can be done by online registration or paper submission. And for company bank account opening, it depends on each bank's requirement and policy. And generally, the bank requests physical visit to verify the identity in person. You may contact us for more details and assistance.
So for the next question is a private limited company request to find the annual return together with the financial statement? Actually not. This is not required to find the financial statement with the annual return for the company limited by share.
Here is the questions. Can the company only have shareholders and not employees? And does the appointed director need to be paid a fee either on monthly or annually basis? Actually, at least one individual director must be appointed, while director's fee is optional.
Okay, I think this is all the pre-questions. So maybe we take a look for the live question. Okay, here is the question about do I need to pay up the full capital of the company before register it in Hong Kong? For the Hong Kong company, this is flexible, and then this is not required to pay up the capital before register the company, but this is supposed to bank in the capital after the corporate bank account is ready.
The next question is, when is the time for Hong Kong company to the first time tax filing in Hong Kong? Well, according to the Hong Kong company audience, the first set of audited financial statement of a newly incorporated company to be prepared within 18 months of incorporation, and thereafter it should be 12 months per each subsequent financial year in according to the audience. So that's all for our Q&A question. And we hope that today's webinar can help you to have a better understanding on Hong Kong company formation and how to maintain the company in good standing. That's the end of today's presentation. Please feel free to contact us for any inquiries. Thank you for your time. We're Premia TNC and hope to see you again on next webinar.
Bye bye.